Good morning, my beautiful and handsome friends. Thank you for coming back today. I have something extraordinary to share. Things I would say are very new for me. And it's actually taken me several days to come on and make this video. I needed to wait on the Lord and wait until I felt in my spirit that I had His approval to make this video. So with that being said, I am making this video in hopes of saving lost souls. And there is no other reason why I'm making this video today. For any of you who are going to listen to this video thinking, if any of you think thoughts, deceiving thoughts from the enemy, that I'm making any of this up or I do it to deceive you, I want you to just pause for one moment and ask yourself why. What would be my motive? Because I don't get a lot of views on YouTube. And if you go through and watch most of my videos, I don't even ask for likes. I don't ask people to subscribe. I do not ask for money. I have not ever, in however many years I've been doing this, signed up for ads to make money doing this. I don't have a Patreon or anywhere you can go to give me any money. I don't want anything from you, but what I want is for you. I want you to believe in the living Elohim and come to Him and be saved. So I come on here on YouTube and make videos in hopes that someone will hear me and listening and will come and believe the true things that I'm coming on here to say to you. So, I don't know why I felt very led to say that today. Maybe it's because of how extraordinary some of the things that have begun to happen are beginning to be. But I'm going to continue to be faithful in coming on here and sharing these things with people who will hear and believe and come and be saved by the mighty Elohim, Jehovah, and the Messiah, Yeshua. This is who I serve, so these extraordinary encounters that I'm having in the spiritual are because of my walk with Him and because He hears my prayers. And these are the things that are coming about because of my faithful diligence toward Him to continually seek Him, and He hears my prayers because He's so faithful. So here we go. Thursday morning, I woke up from a dream. And for any of you who listen to my videos, if you ever get confused about me talking about my children, just know I have more than one child. So sometimes I'm talking about the one and sometimes I'm talking about the other. So just know that, okay? But I woke up to a dream about my oldest child. And in this dream, I went to give him a hug and say that I loved him. And when my hand grabbed his arm was as frail as a small child who was starving to death. And as his mother, I became quite alarmed. No, I will just say my child is a grown man in his mid-20s. And he's not a frail person. But in my dream, His arm was as skinny as a small child starving to death. And I questioned him about it and asked him, why didn't you tell me that you were hungry? Like, if you were so hungry, I would have fed you. And as his mother, I'm very upset about this. And he says, Mom, it's okay. It's okay, don't worry, I'm okay. And I raised my hand a little bit further up his arm and realized I could feel bone with no skin on it. And I lifted up his shirt sleeve to see, and yes, his bone was there. It was bone. No skin, no muscle, no nothing. And I said to him, this is not okay. And I lift up his t-shirt all the way over his shoulder. And I see that his shoulder is nothing but bone. Except it's not human bone. It's pointy and jagged. I will just do like this to kind of demonstrate, because that's the best I can do. But it was like pointy bone sticking out, and in some places perhaps looked a little splintered off, and it'd been that way a long time. There was no remnant of any kind of skin or muscle or anything. It was just pure white bone. And I was telling him, this is not okay. This is not okay. Now, this dream is about the same son who I made my last video about. So if you haven't seen that, you'll have to check that out. But my son has been undergoing a gender transformation. And I have a couple of previous videos touching on that. So if you haven't seen those, that will help bring some context to you. But both of his shoulders are like that. And he's got yellow marks right here that kind of look like cartilage on both shoulders, just like right there. And I'm telling him this is not okay. And he's trying to comfort me, saying, Mom, it's okay. It's okay. The doctor said there would be some side effects, but it's okay. Don't worry. And I begin to plead with him. And I told him what these doctors are saying to you and telling you that it's okay what they're doing to you. And at this point in the dream, I begin weeping. And I say to him, it's not okay. It's not okay. And I'm crying out his name and telling him it's not okay. What they're doing to you is not okay. Well, all of a sudden in the dream, it flashes to being outside. We're in the grass, and my son lays down on his back in the grass, and he begins to weep. And now we're both weeping, except as I'm weeping, it's not my own pain or my own hurt that I feel. I am now feeling his pain. I could feel his agony, like in my stomach, in my chest. I could feel the agony that he was feeling. His emotional. It wasn't physical pain, it was emotional. And I began to scream out and yell out in desperation for someone to come and help him. And I was reaching for my cell phone because I wanted to call my husband or his father, just desperately wanting help. Then I wake from the dream and I'm like whimpering out of my sleep and very disturbed. I was very emotionally disturbed waking up out of this dream. As the morning went on, I could not shake it off of me. So I decided to share my dream with my closest family members. And this is what came of that, to my astonishment. My sister-in-law responded and said that she too had had a dream that night. And in her dream, she dreamt about basically a crowd of people who were transitioning, transitioning. And in her dream, all she could see was them from the shoulders up. And in her dream, from the shoulders up, she could see that they had very broad shoulders. She said, except when you looked really closely, you could see that their shoulders looked like they were starving to death. And she said she didn't know what that meant, but she found it very interesting that we both had a dream the same night, so very similar. I too was intrigued by this. So then my brother pipes in and says that he too had a dream that same night. And in his dream, we, the family, were standing in a circle praying for my son. But in his dream, he, in his prayer, was going into the courtroom of heaven. And he was praying over my son's deliverance. He said, we as a family standing in a circle were holding hands praying for my son, and that we were all illuminated like a halo, that we were illuminated in prayer. I was very encouraged by this. But here's where the story really starts to get extraordinary. All of that is already extraordinary. The fact that my sister-in-law and I had dreams so similar the night before, and that my brother also had a dream. My brother's dream was, he used the word deliverance. If you recall from my previous video, I told you that Jehovah was giving to my sister-in-law the word asunder. Asunder means to separate, to tear apart, to put in two. Keep that in your thoughts as we move into the second part of this extraordinary story. I contacted my son and I told him I had a very disturbing dream about him and that I wanted to tell him about the dream. And so the next day he came over so that I could tell him all that had transpired. So we were talking for about an hour and sharing all of this information with him and revealing to him that Jehovah has revealed all of these things to us, his family, to show us without a shadow of a doubt that all of what's going on with him is very much spiritual. It's not just emotional, it's not just mental, it's not just feelings that he's dealing with, but that is very much spiritual. And suddenly my son's eyes began blinking very slowly, and his speech began to soften. And he began to talk to me and answer me in ways that seemed as though it was coming from a spirit within him and not so much from he himself. Then this question was asked of me. that came out of his mouth. And it said, "Did I ever tell you about the time I died?" At that moment, I knew with everything in me, I was no longer talking to my son, but that there was a spirit within him, speaking through him. My son has never died. He's never even had a close call with death. But the spirit within him has. And I'm here to share with you what that spirit revealed to me. In the mighty name of Jehovah, I bless every set of ears who are listening to me right now. That if there are any lost souls listening to me right now, Father, that their soul would be captured by you to know the truth, that your word is truth, and that they can come to you and be saved. In the mighty name of Yeshua, our Messiah. The Spirit looked at me and asked me, "Did I ever tell you about the time I died?" And I said, "No, but why don't you go ahead and tell me about it?" And it said, it was dark. It was the deepest darkness you can imagine. A darkness you can feel. You can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you can't smell anything. It's just the deepest darkness imaginable. I said, "And there is no God." And it went like this. And then it looked up at me and said, "Nobody ever wants to go there." Do you know what Yeshua said? That's written that he said, "They will be cast into outer darkness where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth." I know my son does not know the Bible. I know he doesn't know that. But this Spirit speaking through him knows it, and it's experienced it, and it's been there. I believe this is what they experience when they do not have a host to be inside of. That is why they come and find empty vessels void of God to be in, because it gives them some sense of life. However, this Spirit did communicate to me that even though it has found a place to be, it doesn't belong there. It literally used those words, "I don't belong here." I could sense the immense remorse and regret and the hopelessness that this Spirit felt. That it had been cast out of heaven. And it at one point said to me, "That's where I belong. That's where I belong. And I don't know how to get back." You can't get back. And it doesn't feel right in his body. But it's lost and it doesn't know what to do. And it causes my son to experience its emotions, which make him feel like he doesn't belong in his body, which causes the gender confusion. Because this Spirit's emotions have attached itself to my son. At one point I asked the Spirit, after about, half hour talking to it, I engaged in this conversation because I was very intrigued to hear what it had to reveal to me. And it did reveal enough, quite enough. I asked it what its name was. I told it that I know that I have not been talking to my son for the last half hour. And it agreed with me. So I said, so if you don't mind my asking, what is your name? And it said, I don't have a name. And I said, I don't believe you. And it began to cry. And I said, or I'm sorry. Then it said, when you're thrown out of heaven, you don't get to take anything with you. If I could remember my name, I would tell it to you. So not only is this deep darkness an absence of all things, you have no being. You have no identity. Again, why they come and try to have identity within a vessel, a human vessel. But it doesn't work that well. It still doesn't feel right, and they know they're not where they belong. They know they are not where they belong. So I had a conversation with it about why it was thrown out of heaven. It tried to tell me it was because it disagreed with God. But when I confronted it and spoke of Jehovah being El Elyon, the Most High, and related it to a mother and a father having rules in their home over their children. You don't hit your sister, you don't spit on your brother, you don't steal, you don't lie, you don't curse your mama, you do your chores when you're told. I said, I think it was more of a rebellion and a betrayal. The spirit had no argument nor response to that. I then confronted the spirit that had tried to manipulate me. I said, I can tell that you know that I am a very compassionate person, because you've tried to sit here and manipulate me, make me feel sorry for you so that I would say it's okay for you to stay inside of my son. And I would take sympathy on you and tell you it's okay for you to be in my son and to be there. I said, but I've already received the promises of Jehovah, and I'm speaking in the authority of the word of Jehovah that he has given to me. And you will be leaving my son. You are on a time limit, and you do have to go. I said, so the authority given to me in the name of Jehovah and his son Yeshua, you are on notice. It's only a matter of time. At that, I called back to my son so that I could talk to him again, and he came back to me. And I said to him, I just spent the last 30 to 45 minutes talking to someone who is not you. I said, you're not alone in there. There's someone else in there with you. And he said, yes, I know. I've known that for a long time. Why am I telling you this? Some of the most intimate, secret parts of my life that most people would protect. I'm telling you this because you are just as precious to me and to the Father and to his Son, Yeshua, Jesus, Jesus, however you say it in your language, the only begotten Son of the Most High God, who came and died and bled to save us, has commissioned me to come to tell you the truths that are revealed so that you will believe. I pray that you believe. I pray that you believe. This has been quite the experience for me to go through. I do now know what the word asunder was revealed to my sister-in-law for. Because there are two inside of my son, and they need to be separated, torn apart, and put in two. And Jehovah is going to do it. And when he does, you better bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be right on here telling you about it. He is faithful. All glory to him forever and ever. I'm already rejoicing. My belly fills with joy when I think about it, because I know Jehovah's already promised. He's made it very clear to me he's already promised my son's freedom and liberation. And I pray the same for you. So if you think maybe you need deliverance from anything like this, it's time to start seeking it out. And the first step is to cry out to Yeshua and ask him to come and be your Lord and Savior, and repent with a broken spirit before him for any sins you've committed or things you've engaged in that have allowed these evil spirits to come near you, or maybe even to enter you. And Yeshua can set you free, and he will. If you truly mean it, he will. Mark my words. So, be blessed in the mighty name of Yeshua. I'll be back on soon. Love you guys. You're precious. Your life is precious. You have meaning. You have purpose. Jehovah gives us all identity and love, such love. Amen.